Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf. What Daf we're studying today? Pei Aleph, Daf 81. Masechta Yevamos, friends. Daf Pei Aleph. Androgynoses, tumtums, truma, kilei kerem, es shedar kulimanos, kol shedar kulimanos. Castratolas, nothing big, no big deal. Well, we're going to start on Daf Pei Amud Beis, all the way to the bottom. I had thought that I had already done this yesterday, or that, the plan I think was to actually have gotten up to the Mishnah yesterday, but I don't know, I guess I fell asleep at the wheel. I did say yesterday that I was tired. Well, you want me to tell you a secret? I'm actually recording it on the same day as yesterday's daf, so I guess, if anything, I'm more tired now than I was then, but, alright, well, yeah, let me tell you. So, we're on Daf Pei Amud Beis, second line from the bottom. So, a castrato who did chalitza, meaning, right, so you have Reuven is married to Sarah, Reuven dies, Shimon, his brother, the castrato, he does yibum with Sarah. So it says if he does chalitza with Sarah, it's no big deal. It doesn't really make a difference. She could still marry a Kohen. But if he does yibum with her, so then she can no longer marry a Kohen. Says the Gemara time of the Ve'olahu. We want to say that this implies that the reason why she cannot marry a Kohen is because he, right, the castrato, Shimon the castrato, slept with her, ha'acher lo. But if any other fellow would sleep with her, so then she would still be able to marry a Kohen. Let's say it is a kashan of Rav Nuna de Omar. Rav Nuna says Shemeres Yevamos shezinsa, that if you have a widow who needs to do yibum and she had a relationship with somebody else, psula liyavam, she can no longer do yibum with the brother. So, right, so meaning, our Mishnah is saying that if Shimon the castrato sleeps with her, so then she can no longer marry a Kohen, implying, but if some random person sleeps with Sarah when she needs to do yibum, so she would still be able to marry a Kohen. This is a kasha, and Rav Nuna who says that if some other person sleeps with her, then she cannot marry. Well, then she's also to the Yavam, which memela means it's because she's a zona, and then she cannot marry a Kohen either. Fine. Lo hu adin afil la'acher nami. No, not true. Rav Nuna is correct, and it's not only if Shimon the castrato sleeps with her, even if anybody else sleeps with her as well, she would not be allowed to marry a Kohen. But since the first part of the Mishnah was talking about Shimon the castrato, so also the second part, meaning when it's talking about chalitza, so it's talking about Shimon the castrato. So also when it talks about, if he sleeps with her, it's in the context of Shimon the castrato, but it also applies to anybody else as well. That if she sleeps with anybody else as well, so then she would be unable to do yibum and unable to marry a Kohen. And similarly, a castratala, that if the brothers did chalitza with her, right? If Reuven was married to a castratala, and then Reuven dies, and then Shimon, and then the other brothers do chalitza with her, so no big deal, she could still marry a Kohen, but if they slept with her, then she cannot. So the Gemara, or says the Gemara, time of the be'alua, halo ba'alua lo, implying that the reason why Sarah the Kistradala would be unable to marry a Kohen is because the brothers slept with her, implying that if that didn't happen, then she would be able to marry a Kohen. That sounds like it's not like Rabbi Yehuda. We had learned on Daf Samach Aleph that according to Rabbi Yehuda, an Ilonis is memele, Kastradala is memele a zona because she's unable to have children. So, but this is implying that if they would have left her alone, so then she would be able to marry a Kohen, which is memele, not like Rabbi Yehuda. Friends, moving on in the Mishnah, Srischama, a fellow who was born a Kastrato, Kohen, and he's also born a Kohen. Two things. He's a Kohen and a Kastrato. Shenoso Bas Yisrael, and he marries a Bas Yisrael. Ma'achila b'tshuma. so she can eat truma because he's not a P'tzua Daka. If if he was born a non-castrato and then he becomes a castrato, so then he's a P'tzua Daka and then his wife cannot eat truma. But if he was born a castrato, so then his wife can eat truma. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon Omer, androgynos kohen shenos bas yisrael ma'achil b'truma. Says Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon, my throat got dry. What should I do? That's what I'll do. I'll do that and swallow. Alright, maybe it works. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon Omer, androgynos kohen shenos bas yisrael. So an androgynous fellow who is also a kohen, who marries a bas Yisrael, ma'achila b'truma, she can eat truma. Alright, fine. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, tumtum, shenikra uwa, v'nimtza zacher. So tumtum is a fellow, we're not sure if he's a boy or a girl, but it turns out he's a boy. So lo yachlotz, he shouldn't do chalitz mipnei shu kesaris, because we treat him like he's a castrato. Androgynos no say avalo nisa. An androgynous can marry but cannot get married. He could betroth a woman, but a man cannot betroth him. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, androgynous chayav olav skila kezacher. That if you sleep with an androgynous, if a male sleeps with an androgynous, he gets stoned. Let's go weiter. Says the Gemara Pshita. Of course, if a fellow who was born a castrato, if he marries a woman, she can eat truma, because after all, he's not a P'tzua Daka. He was born that way. So Maditema, I may have thought to say, Molid Meichel Shenu Molid no Meichel Kamashmalan. I may have thought, look, but in order for a husband to enable his wife to eat truma if she's a Bas Yisrael, he would have to be able to produce children, right? As the pasuk says, "V'ilid beiso hem yochlu," and we read it yaichilu, right? That kilu in or. So I might think to say that only somebody who is able to have children is able to enable his wife to eat truma, and this castrato, this fellow who was born a castrato, so he's unable to have children. So therefore, maybe he's unable to enable his. He's unable to enable. That's nice. He's unable to enable his wife to eat truma. So, Kamash Malon, that, no, even so, he's able to enable his wife to eat truma. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Shimon Omer androgynous. Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Shimon say that an androgynous can enable his wife to eat truma. Rish Lakish says, Rish Lakish, ma'achila b'truma, vein ma'achila b'chazav hashok. Okay, so it says Rish Lakish that the androgynous can enable his wife to eat truma. Okay, but he cannot enable his wife to eat the breast and the thigh, which is like the matnos kuna. It's like the part of the korban that goes to the kohanim. So an androgynous cannot enable his wife, who's a bas Yisrael, to be able to eat the chazav hashok. Okay, let's go weiter. Rabbi Yochanan Omer says Rabbi Yochanan af ma'achila b'chazav hashok. Says Rabbi Yochanan that the androgynous can even enable his wife to eat the breast and the thigh. So now the Gemara is trying to understand Rish Lakish's opinion of Rish Lakish. Maish nachazav v'shok deoraisa chumanami deoraisa. Friends, you hear the kasha? The Gemara says, I don't understand Rish Lakish's opinion. Rish Lakish says that if you have an androgynous who marries a Bas Yisrael, she can eat truma, but she cannot eat the breast and the thigh. Why not? Is it because the truma is deoraisa? Is it because the chazav hashok is deoraisa? Is it because the breast and the thigh are deoraisa, and therefore we're saying that she cannot eat things that are deoraisa? Truma nami deoraisa. Truma is also midoraisa. So what's the reason why she would be able to eat truma but not chazav hashok? Hachab ma'iskinam b'truma b'zman hazeh derabon. So the Gemara says, look, when Rish Lakish says that she's allowed to eat truma, it's talking about truma nowadays, which is only midorabonon, and that's why she's allowed to eat the truma. Havel b'zman shebeis hamikdash kaim mai lo. But during the time that there's a beis hamikdash, that truma is midoraisa, so then she would be unable to eat truma. But then, if we're already making distinctions between Truma and Chazav Ashok, Lifluk V'lesni B'dida. So make another distinction, which is, when do we say that she's allowed to eat Truma? Bizman, Amurim, B'Truma D'Rabbanan. Truma, that's Mid'Rabbanan. Aval B'Truma D'Oraisa lo. B'Truma, which is Mid'Oraisa, not. Right? Meaning, if we're saying that she's allowed to eat Truma, but she's not allowed to eat Chazav Ashok, and then we're also saying, wait, but even the Truma that she's allowed to eat, it's only B'Truma B'Zman Hazeh, which is Mid'Rabbanan, but Truma, when there's a Beis HaMikdash, it's Mid'Oraisa, she wouldn't be able to eat. So the Gemara says, but I don't understand. If we're already making a distinction between Truma on the one end and Chazav Ashok on the other end, so take it one step further as well, and say, and even within Truma, it depends if it's B'Zman Hazeh or B'Zman Beis HaMikdash Kaim. So that's the Gemara's kasha. So the Gemara says, the Gemara says, B'diuk, that's punkt what it's saying. I don't know if you could say that. That's punkt what it's saying? I think you might be able to say that. I'm not really sure. We have any Yiddish experts over here? Anyways, but that's exactly what it's saying. Kilu, when it says, Kishu ma'echila b'tshuma b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanan, ve'ein ma'echila b'zman chazav ashok va'afilu b'tshuma d'Rabbanan. Tumas lo'ochel b'tshuma d'Oraisa. We'll read that again in a second. But when Rish Lakish says that she's if you have an androgynous who's a kohen, who's married to Bas Yisrael, she's allowed to eat truma, but not allowed to eat chazav ashok, what he's saying is, Rish Lakish is saying she's allowed to eat truma b'zman hazeh, but she's not allowed to eat truma during the time of chazav ashok. That's what it means. What does it mean that she's not allowed to eat chazav ashok? It means she's not allowed to eat truma when there's a Beis HaMikdash during the time that there are karbanos and the Kohanim eat the breast and the thigh. So basically what Rish Lakish is saying is that she's allowed to eat truma b'zman hazeh, right, truma d'Rabbanan, but she's not allowed to eat truma d'Oraisa. That's what it's saying. Right, again, so where am I? Hachinami Komer, that's punkt what he's saying. Kishu ma'chila b'truma b'zman hazeh, that Rish Lakish is saying that a androgynous who's a kohen who's married to Bas Yisrael, she's allowed to eat truma dafka b'zman hazeh d'Rabbanan, when truma is mid'Rabbanan, ve'ein ma'chila b'zman chazav ashok, but he cannot feed her truma during the time that there's a Beis HaMikdash, during the time that the Kohanim eat the breast and the thigh, va'afilu b'truma d'Rabbanan, and even truma d'Rabbanan. When there's a Beis HaMikdash and truma is mid'Oraisa, so then even the d'Rabbanan trumas, right? Because mid'Oraisa, it's only dagon, tirush, v'yitzar, grain, grapes, and wheat. But something like chveisvos, figs, right? That would be mid'Rabbanan, even during the time of the Beis HaMikdash. And what Rish Lakish is saying is that nowadays, b'zman hazeh, nowadays when all truma is mid'Rabbanan, so then she can eat truma. But when there's a Beis HaMikdash, when there's a concept of truma mid'Oraisa, so then she would not be able to eat truma, even if it's something like figs, which is mid'Rabbanan. Lest she come to eat truma d'Oraisa. And Rabbi Yochanan says that she can even eat chazav ashok, she can even eat d'Oraisa stuff. Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Now says Rabbi Yochanan to Rish Lakish, maybe before we do this, let us remember a sugya that we learned in Masechta Beya. About batul b'rov, right? The concept of being batul, that something can become nullified in a mixture. So we say that, well, it depends if it's something that's darku limanos, right? Something that's normally counted. Something that's normally counted is significant, and if it's significant, then it cannot become batul even in a mixture. And there was a machlokas there about, is it es shedarku limanos or kol shedarku limanos? What's the difference? Kol shedarku limanos means even something that is not exclusively counted, but is sometimes counted, that's enough to be considered significant and cannot become batul in a mixture. But then there's the concept of es shedarku limanos, that no, it's only significant if it's exclusively counted. Sometimes it's not enough. It has to be exclusively counted in order for it to be significant, and then not batul in the mixture. And now we're going to see that's punkt, I like saying punkt, it's fun. It's not a fun word. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but how about this? We could make it make sense. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it feels right, it feels nice, so we could just decide that punkt means like exactly. And so that's what I'm going to use, punkt. It's a funny word. It's such a good word, punkt. 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 So yeah, why not? So where were we? So that's punkt the machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. So Amalei. Now back in the Gemara, Amalei Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. So now Rabbi Yochanan Taka says to Rish Lakish, right? Remember, Rish Lakish says that the wife of an androgynous can only, if she's a Bas Yisrael and he's a Kohen, she can only eat truma when it's midar abonon. But truma midaraisa, no. Rabbi Yochanan says even truma midaraisa. Amar Rabbi Yochanan to Rish Lakish, says Rabbi Yochanan to Rish Lakish, misavid truma b'zman derabanan. Rabbi Yochanan says to Rish Lakish, do you really hold that truma nowadays is midar abonon? Amar le'in. Rish Lakish says yes. Shani shone, because I learned the following brisa: igul be'igulim ole. That says Rish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan that there's a brisa that says that if you have fig cakes of truma and it gets mixed together with 100 fig cakes of chulin, or if you have a fig cake of truma temeya and it gets mixed with 100 fig cakes of truma tahora. So it says, so basically you have a mixture of truma, whether it's a fig cake of truma in a mixture of chulin, or whether it's in a mixture of maybe it's tameh in a mixture of tahor, but it's one part, fig to another 100 parts fig, and says Rish Lakish that it could become batel, right? That if you have one, let's just take the truma and chulin example, right? So if you have one fig cake of truma that gets mixed together with 100 other fig cakes of chulin, Rish Lakish says that fig cake can become batel. Now the thing is, a fig cake is something that's not exclusively, but sometimes sold by number, not just like a whole bunch of them together per se, but a specific number of fig cakes. So now, Rish Lakish holds that something that is sometimes sold by number is considered significant and is not batel. And therefore, now the thing is, another thing about fig cakes is that it's only midarabanan, as I mentioned a minute ago, right? Midoraisa, truma would only be by dagon tirush v'yitzar, grain, grapes, and olives. So figs are not part of that. So figs are only chayiv in truma midarabanan. So now here's the thing, friends. So as I said a second ago, that figs are considered significant according to Rish Lakish because they're sometimes sold by number, even if not exclusively, but they are sold by number. So according to Rish Lakish, here's the thing. We have figs that are considered significant and would, generally speaking, not be batel b'rov, right? Not be batel in a mixture. But the thing is that figs are only midirabanan anyways, right? Figs are only chayiv anyways in truma midirabanan. And therefore, there's reason to be lenient to say that they can become batel in a mixture. But here's the thing. If we're talking about a time, right, if we're going to say that truma bizman hazeh is midoraisa, so then I would have to be concerned that if truma bizman hazeh is midoraisa, I would have to be concerned. I would say that even though figs are only chayiv in truma midirabanan, but I would have to be concerned that since figs cannot become batel in a mixture, since they're sometimes sold by number, I would have to make a gezerah even by figs that they would not be batel out of concern for truma midoraisa. So therefore, Rish Lakish is saying that from the fact that we have a brisa that says that figs are able to be batel in a mixture must mean that truma nowadays is only midarabanan, because if truma was midoraisa, then we would not say that figs can become batel in a mixture out of concern that you might end up enabling mixtures by the oraisa as well. Now Rabbi Yochanan disagrees, and Rabbi Yochanan holds that in order for something to be significant enough that it's not batel in a mixture, it would have to be something that's exclusively sold by number, which would not apply to figs, and therefore figs there really is not a, even if truma was midoraisa bizman hazeh, still you would say that figs could become batal, because figs are not considered significant enough since they are only sometimes sold by number, and there's no concern about, if you allow figs, then you'll allow other things that are midah oraisa, because figs anyways are batal, they're not considered significant, right? According to Rish Lakish, right, who says that figs are significant. So then if we would say that nowadays truma is midah oraisa, then I would be concerned that in other places where things are significant midah oraisa, you might end up violating. So from the fact that figs, which are significant, we're allowed to say that they're batal in a mixture nowadays, must mean that truma nowadays is midah rabbanon. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan says no, figs anyways are not considered significant since they're only sometimes sold by number, and therefore, even if you say that nowadays truma is midah oraisa, still the fact that figs are batal in a mixture isn't so significant, since figs themselves aren't really so significant. So back in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan says to Rish Lakish, "Misavert truma bizman hazeh bizman de bizman hazeh." Oh yeah, that's probably better. Bizman hazeh de rabbanon. Rish Lakish, do you really say that truma nowadays is midah rabbanon? Amalei in. Rish Lakish says, of course. Shani Shona, because I learned this brayse, igul bi igulim ole, that if you have a fig cake that gets mixed together with 100 other fig cakes, so it could become batal. And from the fact that it become batal, even though it's significant, must mean that truma nowadays is midah rabbanon. Because if it was midah oraisa, then I would have to be concerned that if you say that figs are batal, even though they're significant, other things will be batal, even though they're significant, and that might be by a deoraisa case, and that would be a problem. Omerle, to which Rabbi Yochanan responds to Rish Lakish, "V'alo ani shone chaticha b'chatichos ola." Says Rabbi Yochanan, we're going to explain this later, that even if you have kodshim, right? If you have, as Rashi says, like if you have a piece of a korban chatos that's tameh, it can become batal in 100 pieces of chatas that is tahor, right? Because these are things that are not always exclusively counted. And clearly, korbanos, right? Pieces of a korban chatas, we're talking about midah oraisa, right? And Rabbi Yochanan is saying that even by the oraises, even by the oraisa, something like something that is not exclusively counted, whether it is fig cakes, whether it is even pieces of a korban chatas, things that are not exclusively counted are able to become batal even by the oraises, and therefore Rabbi Yochanan says, I have no problem explaining that truma nowadays is midah oraisa, and the reason why these fig cakes are able to be batal is because they're not significant, since they're not exclusively counted. Misavad kol shedarku limanos shaninu es shedarku limanos shaninu. And Rabbi Yochanan explains to Rish Lakish, it's not the case that we say kol shedarku limanos, that anything that is sometimes sold by number, even if not exclusively, right, that would be significant. Says Rabbi Yochanan, no, it's only things that are exclusively sold by number that are significant. So now says the Gemara, Mahi, what's this business about kol shedarku limanos es shedarku limanos? Ditnan, as we learn in a Mishnah. Somebody who has bundles of fenugreek, of kilei akarim, right, a mixture of grape seeds and fenugreek. Yidalko, you have to burn them. If the kilei akarim became mixed together with other chulin, so kulin yidalko. Reb Meir says, look, you have to burn all of it. There goes the light. I had a feeling it was going to die on me. Whereas the Chacham say it could become batal in 1 part in 200, right? So if you have a mixture of kilei akarim, now kilei akarim becomes batal 1 part of kilei akarim to 200 parts of chulin. Same thing with orla as well. Right, 1 part orla to 200 parts of chulin. So Reb Meir says that if you have kilei akarim, right, fenugreek that gets mixed together with grape seeds and it grows, And so Reb Meir says, look, it cannot become batal, right? Kulan yidalku, you have to burn all of them. Whereas the Chacham say, Yalu bechor u'masayim. No, it's not true. If you have 1 part kilei akarim to 200 parts chulin, so it could become batal. Reb Meir omer kol shadar limanos mekadesh, because Reb Meir would say anything which, even if it's not exclusively sold by number, but if it's, if it is sold by number, even if not exclusively, then it's significant. And fenugreek, I guess, is significant, and therefore it's not going to be batal. You have to burn all of it. Whereas the Chacham say there are only 6 things that would be considered significant and not batal. Rabbi Kiva Omer Shiva, whereas Rabbi Kiva says that Taka 7. Elu, and these are them. Egoze perech, the nuts of perech, Rimone badon, and the pomegranates of badon. When's pomegranate season in Eretz Yisrael? That could be a nice thing to buy pomegranates. Friends, I'm telling you, the Paris of Eretz Yisrael is where it's at. So the grapefruits I mentioned recently, the grapefruits even recently were still pretty good, but I think that's over. What's the new season now? When's cherry season? Is it cherry? Ooh, it might be cherry season now. Ooh, that's good stuff. Friends, there's always a new season. The figs are probably coming out again. As you saw, there's always something new and delicious. Fine. So Rimone Badon and pomegranates of Badon, V'chavius Susumis, and sealed barrels of wine, V'chilfei Traden, and stalks of beets, V'kilchei Kruv, and stalks of cabbage, V'telas Yevamos, and Greek gourd. For Bekiva Mosef Av Kikar Shel Balabayis, so Bekiva adds even the loaves of Balabayises. Okay, so those are the things that are considered so significant that they cannot be batal. Okay, from that list, right, the ones that are shaykh to orla, for example, pomegranates, the barrels of wine, the nuts, so that would be orla, the kilei akarim. So for example, the cabbage and the gourds and the beets, those would be kilei akarim. Fine. So we see that Reb Meir's opinion is kol shadar limanos, and the Chacham's opinion is es shadar limanos. Rabbi Yochanan saver es shadar limanos. Rabbi Yochanan holds like the Chachamim that it's only things that are exclusively sold by number that are not batal. Rish Lakish saver kol shadar limanos sheninu, whereas Rish Lakish holds no, even if as long as it's sold by number, even if not exclusively sold by number, it would be significant like Reb Meir, and it would not be batal. So now, fact the Gemara, my chaticha. What was the situation of a chaticha, right? Rabbi Yochanan had mentioned that if you have a shani shone chaticha b'chaticha ola, that one part of a korban that gets mixed together with the other parts of korbans, so then it can become batal. No, what is this? So the Tanya is, we learned it, right? Chaticha shel chatos tmei. If you have a piece of a korban chatos that was tamei, shenisarve b'mei chatichos shel chatos tahoros, that got mixed together with 100 other pieces of a korban chatos that were tahor, that were pure. V'chein, and similarly, prusa shel lechem aponim, a piece of the showbreads of the lechem aponim tmeya that was impure, shenisarve b'mei prusa shel lechem aponim tahoros, which got mixed together with 100 pieces of lechem aponim that were pure. Taile. So in both of those cases, by the chatas as well as by the lechem aponim, they can become nullified in this mixture. Buda Omer lo saile. Buda says no. Ma pitom. Buda says that by these korbanos, by the lechem aponim as well, it's not batal. And Rashi says because Buda's opinion is, and as we're going to see in the Gemara, that min b'mino lo batil, that one species that gets mixed together in the same type, right? We're saying a piece of a korban chatas that gets mixed together with other pieces of a korban chatas, right? Some lechem aponim that gets mixed together with other lechem aponim. Rabbi Yehuda would say that it will never be batal. Aval, but chaticha shel chatas tahora. But if you have a piece of a pure chatas, shenisayvu b'mei chaticha shel chulin, that got mixed together with 100 parts of chulin, tahoros that are pure, v'chein prusa shel lechem aponim tahora, shenisayvu b'mei prusa shel chulin tahoros, or if you have one piece of lechem, of showbread that is pure, they got mixed together with 100 pieces of regular bread that is pure, tivyakol lo saile, everyone agrees that in that case it would not be bottle, because in that case you sell it to a kohen, right? Meaning if you have some kodsha meat, right, so it's some pieces of a chatos that got mixed up with chulin, well then instead of saying that the chatos is now bottle into the chulin, why not just sell it to the kohen and just let the kohen eat all of it? Right, you can eat the chatas, you can eat the chulin, right? And the same thing with the lechem apanim, just sell it to a kohen, and then, problem solved, you can eat all of it. So therefore we say in that case it's not going to be bottle, because just sell it to the kohen, and that would be the better solution, right? But of course in the Reisha it's talking about where you have something possible that gets mixed together with something tahor, so in that case, kilu, then we do have to rely upon things being bottle. Fine. So now says the Gemara, katani mias, Reisha taile. What do we say in the first part of this brisa? That if you have chatos, or if you have lechem aponim that gets mixed together, it's taka bottle. And even though it's something that is that is counted, so we see it's a kasha on Rish Lakish, because Rish Lakish says that something that's counted, even if it's not exclusively counted, but if it's something that's counted, then it's not going to be bottle. And yet our brisa is saying that these the part of the piece of a korban chatos, it would be bottle, even though it's something that's counted. So Rav Chia Brei the Hune Benimocha. So Rav Chia Brei the Hune says it's talking about where it's dissolved, and because it's dissolved, that's why it's bottle. But if it was not dissolved, so then it would not be bottle. If it was whole, then it would not be bottle. Well, if it's dissolved, then how come Rabbi Yehuda says that it would not be bottle? Well, Rabbi Yehuda the time lo bottle, because Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that one species that gets mixed into its own same type does not become bottle. Avalo nimocha mai lo saile. But Rish Lakish would say, or Reb Chia Brei de Rav Huna explains for Rish Lakish, that if it was not dissolved, if it was mamish a piece of chatas that got mixed together with chulin, so then or a piece of chatas that was tamei that got mixed together with chatas that was tahor, so it would not be bottle, because it's something that is counted. That is the opinion of Rish Lakish. The only reason why the Brisa says it's bottle is because it is dissolved. All right. In fact, the Gemara Adatoni aval chaticho shachatas tahor shenisayve b'mea chaticho shachulin tahoris. But in fact, the Gemara, the Sefer, right, the Brisa continues and says that if you have one piece of chatos that is tahor that got mixed together with chulin that's tahor, lo saile, then it does not. It's not bottle. But one second, if we're already making a distinction between things that are bottle, things that aren't bottle, right? Between one piece of chatos that's pasul, that's tummy, that gets mixed together with 100 pieces that are tahor, we say that it is bottle. Whereas one piece of chatos that's tahor that gets mixed together with 100 pieces of chulin that's tahor, then it's not bottle. Well, say better. Say a step further. Niflog v'nesne bedida. Go one step further and say, when do we say that one piece of chatas that is tamei does get nullified inside of 100 parts that are tahor? B'sheni mocha. That's only when it is dissolved. Avaloni mocha lo saile. But if it's whole, then it doesn't become bottle. Right? That, according to Rish Lakish. So taurus b'taurus other flay. The Gemara says no. According to Rish Lakish, you would say that specifically when it is dissolved, it can become bottle. If it was whole, it would not be bottle. The reason why the Brisa does not go into that distinction is because it was more interesting for the Brisa to teach about a distinction that if it's one part that's tahor, right, this chatas that's tahor that gets mixed together with 100 parts that are tahor, it's not going to be bottle because you could sell it. That is more interesting for the Brisa to teach than to teach about the pasul stuff that is dissolved versus whole. It's more interesting to teach the tahor b'tahor. All right, fine. I guess the Brisa found that more interesting. What do you want me to tell you? Friends, that was Daf Pe'al Mesechta Yevamos. We talked about androgynous, is even a shtickle tumtum is over there. We saw a machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish regarding an androgynous. If he's married to Bas Yisrael, can she eat truma? Rish Lakish says only truma mid'orabanan, but not truma mid'oraisa. whereas Rabbi Yochanan says even Truma Midoraisa. We then got into the machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish about how do you relate to things that are generally counted becoming batul in a mixture. Rish Lakish says that anything that is counted, even if it's not exclusively counted, would be significant and not batul in a mixture. Rabbi Yochanan says that no, it would have to be something that's exclusively counted in order for it to be significant and not batul in a mixture. But if it's just, regularly counted but not exclusively counted, so then it would be batul in a mixture. Friends, peace out. Bye.